Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and the information provided here should not be taken as financial advice. The world of private aviation involves complex contracts and significant financial commitments. Always conduct your own thorough due diligence and consult with qualified legal, financial, and aviation professionals before making any decisions. Imagine this. It's 3 p.m. on a Tuesday in New York City. You've just spent 10 hours hammering out the final details of a 9-figure acquisition. The deal is set to close in San Francisco in less than 24 hours. You have your first-class ticket booked for a 6 p.m. red-eye. Then your phone buzzes. It's your lead investor. A major fund is getting cold feet, and they need an emergency face-to-face meeting to be reassured. Tonight, back in New York, suddenly the laws of physics are working against you. You cannot be in two places 3,000 miles apart at the same time. The commercial flight schedule, once a minor inconvenience, has now become a wall. Your 9-figure deal is hanging by a thread, not because of financials or legal snags, but because of logistics. This isn't a hypothetical drama. For a certain tier of executive, entrepreneur, and high performer in the United States, this is a very real Tuesday. This is the moment where the true value of private aviation isn't a luxury. It's a tool. It's the ultimate competitive advantage. It's the ability to bend time. But once you've decided to make that leap, you're faced with a monumental choice. In the American skies, two giants dominate the landscape: NetJets and XO. This isn't just a choice between two brands. It's a fundamental decision between two completely different philosophies of private travel. On one side, you have NetJets, the undisputed titan, the pioneer of fractional jet ownership, backed by the financial fortress of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. They represent stability, consistency, and the prestige of ownership. On the other side, you have XO, the tech-drenched disruptor, the Uber of the skies, a key player in the Vista global empire. They represent flexibility, on-demand access, and a digitally native approach to aviation. Choosing between them is one of the most critical decisions a frequent private flyer will ever make. And choosing wrong can cost you not just hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, but it can also trap you in a model that fights against the very reason you went private in the first place: freedom. This video is going to arm you with the information you need to make the right choice for you. We are going to cut through the glossy marketing brochures and the slick sales pitches. We're going to get into the weeds and give you a brutally honest side-by-side comparison of these two powerhouses. We will dissect their business models, from fractional ownership to on-demand charter. We'll compare their fleets, looking at aircraft age, size, and availability. We'll demystify their pricing, exposing the real hourly costs, the monthly management fees, fuel surcharges, and the hidden fees that can turn a seemingly good deal into a financial nightmare. We'll talk about the actual service experience, the consistency, the personalization, and what really happens when things go wrong. By the end of this deep dive, you will understand the core DNA of each company, and you will be able to confidently determine which service aligns with your specific travel patterns, your budget, and your tolerance for commitment. Let's be clear about the stakes. This isn't like choosing between Uber and Lyft. The financial commitment here is substantial, and the contracts are often long-term. If your travel is unpredictable, with frequent last-minute trips of varying distances, locking yourself into a fractional ownership model with a specific aircraft type could be a colossal mistake. You'd be paying a premium for guaranteed access you can't fully leverage. Conversely, if you fly the same route consistently, say from Teterboro to Van Nuys every other week, and you demand the exact same aircraft and crew experience every single time, relying on the variable nature of a charter marketplace might introduce inconsistencies you're not willing to tolerate. You could find yourself on different types of aircraft, some older, some newer, sacrificing that seamless, predictable experience you crave. Getting this wrong means you're either burning cash on a service you don't need, or you're sacrificing the quality and reliability that was the whole point of the investment. We're here to prevent that from happening. To truly understand this battle, you have to understand their origins and their core philosophies. Think of NetJets as the original country club of the skies. Founded in 1986, they invented the entire concept of fractional jet ownership. The idea was revolutionary. Give individuals and companies all the benefits of owning a private jet: the speed, the privacy, the convenience, without the astronomical costs and logistical headaches of whole aircraft ownership. Their model is built on a simple, powerful promise. You buy a share, you get a jet. When you buy a share in, say, a Citation Latitude, you are guaranteed access to that type of aircraft, or a better one, anywhere in the country with as little as 4 to 6 hours notice. It's an asset-heavy model. They own and operate the world's largest private jet fleet, over 750 aircraft. This gives them unparalleled control over maintenance, pilot training, and the overall passenger experience. When you fly NetJets, you are flying on a NetJets aircraft flown by NetJets pilots. This creates an ecosystem of extreme consistency and is a major reason they are renowned for their industry-leading safety standards. The backing of Berkshire Hathaway in 1998 only solidified this reputation, adding a layer of financial invincibility that is incredibly reassuring to clients making multi-million-dollar commitments. Now enter the challenger, XO. If NetJets is the established country club, XO is the exclusive, high-tech, members-only lounge that just opened downtown. XO, as we know it today, is a fusion of different aviation companies, most notably XOjet, which was a major player in the charter market. Acquired and rolled into the Vista global family, XO was reimagined as a technology-first platform. Their philosophy is not about ownership, it's about access. They operate on an asset-light model, while their parent company, Vista, has its own dedicated fleet of a few hundred silver and red stripe jets. The true power of XO is its app. The XO platform provides access to over 2,100 aircraft globally, including the Vista fleet and a meticulously vetted network of third-party charter operators. This is their killer app. Variety and flexibility. You're not tied to a single aircraft type. One day you can book a light jet for a quick hop from Dallas to Austin. The next, you can book a super midsize for a cross-country flight, or even an empty leg deal for a fraction of the price. They are famous for their innovative solutions like crowdfunding a flight or selling individual seats on shared private flights, which dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. XO is selling a promise of ultimate flexibility, powered by technology. You pay for what you need when you need it, all through a seamless digital interface. So we have two fundamentally different approaches. NetJets sells you a deeded interest in an aircraft, an asset. It's a long-term relationship built on the promise of guaranteed availability and unwavering consistency. XO sells you access to a vast, dynamic marketplace. It's a more fluid relationship built on the promise of ultimate flexibility and choice. One of these companies sells you an asset, the other sells you access. And understanding that single difference is the key to not making a multi-million-dollar mistake. Let's break down what that really means when it comes to the most important factor for almost everyone, the price you actually pay. Let's start with NetJets, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. When you sign with NetJets, you are not just booking a flight. You are buying an asset. This is fractional ownership. Think of it like a high-stakes, high-altitude timeshare. You are purchasing a slice of a specific jet, say a 1/16 share of a Cessna Citation Latitude. That share entitles you to a certain number of flight hours per year, typically around 50 hours for a 1/16 share. So, the first number you're hit with is the acquisition cost. This is the multi-million-dollar mistake we just talked about if you get it wrong. For that Citation Latitude, which costs around $20 million new, a 1/16 share will run you about $1.25 million. Up front. That's your key to the club. It's a staggering amount of money, and it's the single biggest barrier to entry. You are now a part owner of a jet. Congratulations. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no. Just like owning a home comes with property taxes and a leaky roof, owning a piece of a jet comes with massive overhead. This is your second cost, the monthly management fee. NetJets charges you this every single month whether you fly or not. For our Citation Latitude, you're looking at something in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $20,000 a month. That's over $200,000 a year just to keep your share active. What does that cover? It covers everything you don't want to think about. The pilot's salaries, their training, the insurance on a $20 million piece of machinery, the hangar fees to store it, and the administrative team that makes the whole global operation run. It's the cost of having a jet ready for you with as little as 4 to 6 hours notice, anywhere in the country. Then, and only then, do you pay to actually fly. This is the third cost, the occupied hourly rate. This is the amount you're billed for every hour the plane is in the air with you inside it. For that latitude, it might be around $6,000 per hour. Now, that sounds high, but in the world of private aviation, it's actually quite competitive. Why? Because you've already paid for the jet and its fixed costs. You're just paying for the gas, the catering, and the flight-specific fees. And a crucial point here. With NetJets, you generally only pay for the time you're on board. You're not paying for the plane to fly empty to pick you up or to return to its base after it drops you off. Those ferry fees are baked into the overall model. So let's recap the NetJets price structure. A massive 7-figure check up front to buy your share. A 5-figure check every single month just for the privilege of ownership. And then a 4-figure check for every hour you're actually flying. The total cost for your 50 hours a year? You're looking at around $1.25 million to get in the door, plus another $500,000 in fees and flight time for your first year alone. It is an astronomical financial commitment, designed for people who fly frequently and demand the absolute highest level of consistency and availability. You're buying certainty. Now let's completely shift gears and look at XO. If NetJets is like buying a mansion in the Hamptons, XO is like having a black card that gets you into the most exclusive, on-demand rental properties in the world. There's no deed, no ownership, no long-term asset play. XO is primarily a charter broker. They provide access to a vast network of aircraft. Some they operate themselves through their parent company, VistaJet, but many are owned by third-party operators who meet XO's safety and quality standards. You're paying for access, not equity. The simplest way to use XO is on-demand charter. You go on their app, plug in your trip, and get a price, just like booking an Uber. But instead of a 10-minute wait for a Toyota Camry, it's a few hours notice for a Gulfstream. The price you see is the price you pay for that specific trip. This is where XO shines for infrequent flyers or those who want zero commitment. Fly from LA to Vegas for the weekend? Pay the $20,000 bill and you're done. No monthly fees, no acquisition cost. It's clean, simple, and requires no long-term capital. But there's a catch, and it's a big one: dynamic pricing. That $20,000 flight to Vegas on a quiet Tuesday could suddenly become a $60,000 flight on the Friday of a holiday weekend, or when a big convention is in town. The price is dictated by supply and demand in real time. You are at the mercy of the market. This volatility is the trade-off for having no commitment. To combat this, XO offers memberships. This is their middle ground. You pay an annual fee to join their club, which unlocks a host of benefits. Their entry-level Rise membership costs around $100,000 per year. For that, you get access to fixed, capped hourly rates on certain routes and jet classes, and you get to bypass some of the ferry fees on popular routes. Their higher-tier memberships like Select and Elite cost significantly more. We're talking $200,000 to over $1 million a year, but they offer more benefits, like guaranteed availability and even lower fixed rates. So let's look at the XO cost structure. You can pay zero upfront and just charter on demand, but you'll be subject to wild price swings. Or you can pay a hefty 6-figure annual membership fee. In return, you get more predictable, often lower pricing than the on-demand market. When you book a flight as a member, you're still paying an hourly rate, which might be, say, $9,000 an hour for that same mid-sized jet. You're not paying the monthly management fee like with NetJets, but your annual membership fee is essentially a prepayment for access and price stability. So let's put them side by side on price alone. To fly 50 hours a year in a comparable jet, the first year with NetJets could cost you north of $1.7 million, with most of that being the initial buy-in. With XO, using a mid-tier membership, that same 50 hours might cost you around $600,000 for the year, $100,000 for the membership and $500,000 for the flight time. On paper, XO looks like an absolute bargain in comparison. You could fly with them for almost 3 years for the price of 1 year with NetJets. So why on earth would anyone choose NetJets? The answer is that we're not comparing apples to apples. We're comparing a mortgage to a rental agreement. With NetJets, at the end of your contract, usually 5 years, they buy your share back from you at fair market value. So you recoup a large portion of that initial $1.25 million. It's an asset that depreciates, but it's still an asset. The money you pay to XO, whether for on-demand flights or a membership, is an expense. It's gone forever. So the financial decision boils down to this. Do you have the capital, the long-term need, and the stomach for an investment in a depreciating asset to achieve the lowest variable costs and highest consistency? That's NetJets. Or do you prefer a lower barrier to entry, zero ownership headaches, and are willing to pay a premium on a per-hour basis for that flexibility? That's XO. Choosing based on price alone is like choosing a car based only on its monthly payment, without considering if it's a lease or a purchase. They are fundamentally different financial transactions. But the money is only half the story. The real difference, the one that truly impacts your experience from the moment you arrive at the airport, has nothing to do with the payment structure. It has to do with the actual physical airplane you are about to step onto. Because who owns the plane, who maintains it, and how old it is, that changes everything. And the fleets behind NetJets and XO could not be more different. Let's start with NetJets, the 800-pound gorilla in the room. When you hear that NetJets has the largest private jet fleet in the world, over 900 aircraft and counting, that number is impressive, but it's not the most important part of the story. The most important part is one word: ownership. NetJets owns or has long-term leases on the vast majority of its fleet. These aren't just random planes they find for you on a marketplace. They are NetJets planes. They are painted in the signature NetJets livery. They are maintained by NetJets technicians to NetJets standards. Their pilots are NetJets employees trained the NetJets way. Think of it like the difference between staying at a Four Seasons hotel versus booking a high-end Airbnb. With the Four Seasons, you know exactly what you're getting. The bed will be perfect. The service will be impeccable. The design language will be consistent. Whether you're in Maui or Manhattan, that is the NetJets promise. They have built their entire brand on absolute, ironclad consistency. Their fleet is a curated collection of the best-in-class aircraft from top manufacturers like Embraer, Textron Aviation, Bombardier, and XO. They don't just have one of everything. They buy dozens, sometimes hundreds, of the same model. For short hops, you'll likely be on their Embraer Phenom 300, one of the best-selling light jets on the planet. Need a bit more room for a cross-country trip? You'll step onto a Citation Latitude or a Challenger 350, the workhorses of the midsize and super midsize categories. And for those 10-hour flights to Europe or Asia, you're in the rarefied air of their global fleet, aircraft like the Bombardier Global 6000 or the ultra-long-range Global 7500, which is essentially a luxury penthouse that can fly at 90% of the speed of sound. Because they buy these jets in such massive bulk, they have immense leverage with the manufacturers. They can demand specific customizations and upgrades right from the factory floor, creating a standardized NetJets edition of each aircraft. That means the Wi-Fi system, the entertainment options, the galley setup, and even the type of leather on the seats is the same across every single jet of that model type. This obsession with uniformity means that for a NetJets client, the experience of flying from New York to Miami in a Challenger 350 today will be virtually identical to flying in a different Challenger 350 from Los Angeles to Aspen 6 months from now. That predictability is, for many, the ultimate luxury. It removes all the variables, all the guesswork. It's a known, safe, and reliable quantity. Now let's pivot completely and look at XO. If NetJets is the Four Seasons, XO is more like a hybrid of an exclusive travel agency and the world's most sophisticated booking platform. XO operates on what's called an asset-light or brokerage model, while their parent company, Vista Global, does own a dedicated fleet of over 360 aircraft, primarily the distinctive silver and red VistaJet planes. The true power of XO is its network. XO provides access to a virtual fleet of over 2,400 aircraft from a vast network of third-party operators. This is a fundamentally different philosophy. XO isn't promising you their plane. They're promising you a plane. And they are promising you unparalleled access and choice. Instead of a curated menu of 8 or 10 aircraft models, XO offers you a seemingly endless buffet. Do you want to fly on a King Air turboprop for a short field landing? They can find one. Do you need a very specific Gulfstream G650 with a certain cabin layout? They'll source it. Are you looking for the most cost-effective option for a last-minute trip, and you don't care if the jet is 10 years old? Their marketplace will likely have it. This model is brilliant because it provides incredible flexibility, but it inherently sacrifices the one thing NetJets champions above all else: consistency. The plane that shows up for your XO charter is owned and operated by one of hundreds of different certified charter companies across the country. One day, you might get a brand new jet operated by a large, well-known charter firm. The next, you could be on a 15-year-old aircraft from a smaller regional operator. Now let's be crystal clear. This does not mean unsafe. Every single aircraft and operator within the XO network must be FAA Part 135 certified, which is the strict federal regulation for commercial on-demand charter. Furthermore, XO and other reputable brokers require their operator partners to hold additional, third-party safety accreditations, like an Argus Gold or Platinum rating, or a Wyvern Wingman certification. These are independent auditing firms that dig deep into a company's safety history, maintenance records, and pilot training protocols. They are the gold standard for safety verification in the charter industry. So, you are not getting on a random, unchecked plane. You are getting on a professionally crewed, safely operated, and certified aircraft. But the experience will vary. The crew will be wearing a different uniform. The cabin amenities, from the type of coffee maker to the speed of the Wi-Fi, will be different. The interior might be brand new, or it might show some signs of wear and tear. The level of onboard service, while always professional, won't be standardized to the same obsessive degree as NetJets. For some flyers, this variety is exciting. It's part of the adventure. For others, particularly those flying for critical business where every detail matters, this variability can be a source of low-level anxiety. So we have two clashing ideologies. NetJets offers a closed ecosystem. It's a walled garden, but inside that garden, everything is pristine, perfect, and predictable. They control every single aspect of the asset, from the day it's built to the day it's retired. They have one of the youngest fleets in the industry, with an average aircraft age of around 7 to 8 years. XO offers an open marketplace. It's a gateway to the entire world of private aviation. They give you choice, flexibility, and access to a staggering number of aircraft all over the country. The trade-off is that you're not getting a single branded product. You are getting the best available product that meets your mission and budget from a heavily vetted pool of partners. The average age of the aircraft in this massive, aggregated fleet will naturally be older than NetJets' curated collection. So the first major question you have to ask yourself is this: are you a creature of habit or a seeker of variety? Do you value absolute, unwavering consistency above all else, the peace of mind that comes from knowing every single detail will be exactly as you expect every single time? Or do you value ultimate flexibility, market access, and the ability to choose from a nearly limitless menu of options, even if it means a different experience with every flight? Because your answer to that question will point you squarely toward one of these two giants. And it's a decision that goes far beyond the paint on the tail. It speaks to the very core of what you're trying to achieve when you fly private. But the plane itself is only half the story. How you book it, how you pay for it, and what happens when things go wrong, that's where the business models truly start to show their differences. Let's start with NetJets because their model is the one that created the entire industry. When you sign with NetJets, you aren't just renting a plane, you are, in a very real sense, buying one. This is the concept of fractional ownership. Think of it like a high-end real estate timeshare, but for a multi-million-dollar jet. Instead of buying a whole Gulfstream G450 for $60 million, you buy a fraction of it, say a 1/16 share. That 1/16 share doesn't mean you get to use the plane for 1/16 of the year. It means you are entitled to 50 hours of flight time annually on that type of aircraft, or an equivalent one from their fleet. This model is built on a three-tiered cost structure. First, there's the acquisition cost. This is the big, one-time payment to purchase your share. For that Phenom 300 we talked about, a 1/16 share might run you somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 to $1 million depending on the market. It's a massive capital outlay, but here's the key. You own an asset. After your contract, typically 5 years, NetJets will buy the share back from you at its fair market value. So, like any asset, it depreciates, but you recover a significant portion of your initial investment. Second, there's the monthly management fee. This is a fixed, predictable cost you pay every single month whether you fly or not. Think of it as the ultimate HO fee. It covers all the indirect costs of aircraft ownership, pilot salaries and an army of support staff, continuous crew training, insurance, and the cost of keeping your jet parked in a climate-controlled hangar. For our Phenom 300 owner, this might be around $15,000 to $20,000 a month. It's the price you pay for having a plane and a world-class crew on standby 24/7, 365 days a year. Finally, there's the occupied hourly rate. This is what you pay only when you are actually in the air, wheels up to wheels down. This fee covers the direct, variable costs of your trip, the fuel, engine maintenance reserves, in-flight catering, landing and handling fees, and crew travel expenses. This rate can be somewhere around $4,000 to $5,000 per hour for that same light jet. So, for a typical owner flying 50 hours a year, you're looking at a huge upfront cost, a hefty monthly management fee, and then an hourly charge on top of that. The numbers are staggering, but the value proposition is rooted in one powerful word: guarantee. Because you are an owner, NetJets contractually guarantees you an aircraft with as little as 4 to 6 hours notice. They guarantee a standardized, meticulously maintained interior. They guarantee a crew trained to their exacting standards. You are buying the elimination of uncertainty. You are buying consistency. For those who aren't ready to commit to a 5-year, 7-figure contract, NetJets offers the Marquee Jet Card. This is their entry-level product. You prepay for a block of 25 hours on a specific jet category. There's no massive acquisition cost and no monthly management fee. You just pay a premium all-inclusive hourly rate. It's the simplest way to access the NetJets fleet and service standard, but it's also on a per-hour basis the most expensive way. It's a gateway product designed to give you a taste of the ownership experience, hoping you'll eventually upgrade. Now let's pivot to XO. If NetJets is the exclusive gated country club of the skies, XO is the slick, tech-forward, members-only social club with an a la carte menu. XO operates on a fundamentally different philosophy: access over ownership. They are, at their core, a technology company and a charter broker, supercharged by their parent company, Vista Global. Instead of owning every plane, XO provides access to a massive floating fleet. This includes the dedicated VistaJet and XO fleet of over 360 aircraft, but more importantly, it plugs you into a network of over 2,400 approved aircraft from third-party operators across the country. They don't have to own the plane in Miami to sell you a flight from Miami. They just need to have a trusted partner who does. This asset-light model is what allows for their signature flexibility. The simplest way to use XO is on-demand charter. You open the app, enter your trip details, and instantly get a range of aircraft options at different price points. It's the free market in action. A flight from Teterboro to Palm Beach on a Tuesday in July might be a bargain. That same flight on the Friday before Christmas? The price will skyrocket. This is dynamic pricing, just like Uber or airline tickets. You are paying the market rate at that exact moment in time. To smooth out this volatility and reward loyalty, XO offers memberships. Their entry-level XO membership, which costs a few $100s a year, basically gets you in the door. It allows you to book flights and, crucially, gives you access to their seat-sharing program, a revolutionary concept. You can book a single seat on an existing private jet flight, or even propose a new flight and split the cost with other members who join you. This can bring the price of a private jet experience down into the territory of a first-class commercial ticket, completely changing the accessibility of private travel. Their premium offering is the XO Reserve membership. This requires a significant deposit, around $100,000, that you then fly against. Becoming a Reserve member unlocks the best of the platform. It gives you priority access to the dedicated fleet, and most importantly, provides caps on dynamic pricing, protecting you from the most extreme surges in demand. You get better cancellation terms and a more premium service experience. It's designed for the frequent flyer who wants the flexibility of charter, but with a layer of predictability and privilege. So let's put it all together. The NetJets model is built on high capital commitment in exchange for fixed, predictable pricing and guaranteed, standardized service. The entire system is designed to make you feel like you are the sole owner of your own private flight department. You know exactly what you're going to get, and you know almost exactly what it's going to cost month in and month out. The XO model is built on low capital commitment in exchange for maximum flexibility and market-driven pricing. It leverages technology to open up a vast, decentralized supply of aircraft. The experience might be less standardized. The Challenger 300 you fly this week might have a slightly different interior and be operated by a different crew than the one you fly next month. But the trade-off is unparalleled choice and accessibility. You can book a flight with a few taps on your phone, choose from multiple aircraft types and price points, or even share a flight to save a fortune. One is a promise of ownership, the other is a promise of access. One sells certainty, the other sells optionality. These two opposing philosophies dictate everything about the customer experience, from the booking process to the service you receive on board. But the true test of any service isn't when things go perfectly. It's what happens when they don't. What happens when there's a mechanical issue, or a blizzard shuts down an airport on the busiest travel day of the year. How do these two fundamentally different models handle pressure, and which one is more likely to leave you stranded on the tarmac? Let's start with the NetJets model. When you fly with NetJets, you are flying on a NetJets aircraft, flown by a NetJets pilot, maintained by a NetJets mechanic, and dispatched from the NetJets Operational Command Center in Columbus, Ohio. This is the concept of operational control. It's not just a piece of industry jargon. It is the single most important factor in this discussion. Imagine a nerve center that looks like something out of a NASA mission control room. Hundreds of dispatchers, meteorologists, and logistics experts sit in front of a wall of screens, tracking every single one of their 800-plus aircraft in real time. They aren't just watching dots on a map. They are managing a multi-billion-dollar, high-stakes logistical ballet, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So let's play out our scenario. You're at the Teterboro Airport outside New York City, scheduled to fly to Aspen on a Phenom 300. But an hour before your departure, during the pre-flight check, the pilot gets a persistent warning light for a minor hydraulic sensor. It's not a critical safety issue, but company policy and common sense dictates the plane is grounded until it's checked out. For a commercial airline passenger, this is the beginning of a nightmare. For a typical charter client, it's the start of a very stressful series of phone calls. For the NetJets owner, it's often a non-event. The pilot makes one call to the operations center. That single call triggers a cascade of perfectly synchronized actions. The system immediately identifies your situation. It knows who you are, and where you're going. Crucially, it also knows the real-time location and status of every other Phenom 300 in the entire fleet. Within minutes, the system has located another NetJets Phenom 300 that just landed at nearby Westchester County Airport after dropping off another owner. A new flight plan is filed. A new crew, already on standby, is dispatched to that aircraft. A car is sent to take you from one private terminal to the other, or perhaps the new plane is simply ferried over to Teterboro. More often than not, a replacement aircraft is airborne and on its way to you before you've even been told there's a problem. This is what NetJets sells. It's not just a flight, it's the system. It's the immense, redundant, and vertically integrated machine behind the flight. Because they own hundreds of identical aircraft, they are, in essence, interchangeable. Your right to fly isn't tied to a specific tail number. It's tied to an entire fleet. This is their recovery promise. In the event of a mechanical, a crew timing out, or a sudden airport closure, their ability to substitute one aircraft for another is unparalleled in the industry. They are not beholden to a third-party owner's schedule or a third-party maintenance crew's availability. They control every piece on the board. This provides a profound sense of security, especially for business travelers for whom a delay isn't an inconvenience. It's a multi-million-dollar deal lost. Now let's rewind the clock and run the same scenario with XO. Remember, XO primarily operates as a broker. They are your interface, your technology platform, connecting you to a vast network of over 2,000 aircraft owned and operated by other companies. These are called third-party operators. XO has a stringent safety vetting process for these operators, requiring Argus or Wyvern ratings, but fundamentally, they do not have operational control over the majority of these planes. So you're back at Teterboro. The Charter Challenger 350 you booked through the XO app has the same mechanical issue. The pilot, who works for Prestige Jet Charter, not XO, follows his company's protocol. He calls his own dispatch. His dispatch then calls XO's customer service team in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The high-stakes game of telephone has begun. Now XO's team has to spring into action. They are, without a doubt, very good at this. Their platform gives them a real-time view of available aircraft across their network. But they are now in a reactive, problem-solving mode, not a proactive, system-driven one. They have to find a replacement aircraft. Is there another Challenger 350 available for charter right now near Teterboro, on the busiest travel day of the year? Maybe. Maybe not. If not, what's the next best thing? A Praetor 500? A Hawker 900 XP? It might be a similar or even better jet. Or it might be a slight downgrade in size or age. It depends entirely on what is available in the charter market at that exact moment. Then they have to negotiate the recovery. The operator of the replacement aircraft knows this is a last-minute, high-distress situation. The price might be higher. XO often absorbs these costs for their members to create a seamless experience, but it introduces complexity behind the scenes. Once they secure the plane, that new crew from a different company has to be briefed, a new flight plan filed, and the aircraft has to be positioned to pick you up. This all takes time. Where the NetJets recovery might take an hour or two, the XO recovery could take several hours, or in a worst-case scenario during a major weather event or holiday, it might not be possible that day at all. This isn't a failure of XO's model. It is an inherent characteristic of it. Their strength is providing access to a massive, diverse marketplace of aircraft. The trade-off is that the inventory is not standardized and not under their direct control. When things go wrong, they are a world-class problem solver, a master coordinator. But NetJets, by design, aims to have a system so robust that the problem never reaches the client in the first place. This extends to the human element as well. NetJets pilots are career employees. A pilot hired to fly a Phenom 300 will likely spend years flying only the Phenom 300, day in and day out. They know every quirk, every system, inside and out. They are part of a single standardized training and safety culture. When you step onto a NetJets plane, You are stepping into a predictable, uniform environment. With XO, the pilot on your flight to Aspen might work for a large, highly regarded charter operator. The pilot on your return flight, booked through the same XO app, might be from a different, smaller, but equally safe operator with a slightly different set of procedures and a different service culture. The quality is consistently high from a safety perspective, but the experience itself can be variable. Now, it's critical to add a layer of nuance here because the lines are blurring. XO's parent company, Vista Global, also owns VistaJet, which operates its own fleet of silver and red striped Global and Challenger jets. XO has priority access to this fleet. So, if you happen to be flying on a VistaJet aircraft through XO, you get a much more NetJets-like experience. If that VistaJet plane has a mechanical, they have their own fleet to pull from for recovery. This own fleet within the XO ecosystem acts as a significant advantage and a buffer against the unpredictability of the third-party charter market. However, this dedicated fleet is still much smaller than NetJets' colossal operation. So while it helps, it doesn't fundamentally change the core dynamic for the majority of their flights. So, when the pressure is on, the difference is stark. NetJets offers a system designed for maximum redundancy and predictability, built on the foundation of total operational control. It's an ironclad promise of consistency. XO offers unparalleled access and flexibility, backed by a powerful technology platform and a skilled team to manage the dynamic, and sometimes chaotic, world of on-demand charter. One sells certainty, the other sells access. Which is better depends entirely on your tolerance for variability when things don't go as planned. We've established the bedrock of operational reliability, the safety net that catches you when things go wrong. But what about when everything goes right? What is the actual experience like once the cabin door is closed, the engines spool up, and you're climbing to 40,000 feet? Which service delivers a truly premium, consistent, and luxurious journey from takeoff to touchdown? That's where the battle for the in-flight experience begins. Stepping onto a NetJets aircraft is an exercise in masterful consistency. The moment you cross the threshold, there's a familiar, subtle scent, a combination of freshly conditioned leather and a kind of deep, professional clean. It's the scent of control. Your two pilots, always in immaculate uniforms, will greet you with a quiet confidence that says, "We do this 100 times a year." But it's the flight attendant who sets the NetJets in-flight tone. They aren't just serving drinks. They are graduates of a rigorous, exclusive training program, often from places like the 5-star Hotel Management School at the Savoy in London. They address you by name. They already know you prefer sparkling water before takeoff and that you take your coffee with a single raw sugar. They've reviewed your passenger profile. The cabin itself is a testament to the power of standardization. Whether you're on a Phenom 300 or a Global 6000, the design language is the same. Muted earth tones, brushed metal accents, and impeccable woodwork. The magazines are perfectly fanned, the welcome snacks are artfully arranged, and the branded water bottle is precisely at your seat. This isn't just a plane. It's a NetJets plane. It's a meticulously crafted environment designed to eliminate variables. For the executive who flies 3 times a week, this predictability is the ultimate luxury. They don't want surprises. They want a seamless transition from their office to a boardroom 3,000 miles away. NetJets delivers this with military precision. Now let's close that door and walk across the tarmac to your XO jet. Stepping aboard is a fundamentally different experience. Could be amazing, could also be just fine. This is the core reality of XO's brokerage model. You might be on a brand new, stunningly appointed aircraft owned by a Fortune 500 company, complete with a seasoned, top-tier crew. Or you might be on a 10-year-old jet from a smaller charter operator, one that's perfectly safe and certified, but shows a little wear and tear around the edges. The leather might be a bit shinier, the carpet a little more trodden. The flight attendant might be fantastic, or they might be a contract worker who is friendly but lacks that deep, intuitive knowledge of your preferences. XO vets its third-party operators, of course, but it cannot enforce the same fanatical, fleet-wide standard as NetJets, which owns and operates its own aircraft. They are, in essence, the world's most sophisticated and technologically advanced matchmaker, connecting you with an available plane. This is what I call the XO lottery. You'll always get to your destination safely, but the specific ambience, the age of the interior, the caliber of the crew, it's a roll of the dice. For some, this is part of the adventure. For others, it's an unacceptable risk when paying a premium for a private experience. This philosophical difference between consistency and variability comes into sharp focus with catering. On a NetJets flight, the catering is, once again, predictably excellent. They have a standard menu of high-quality options, a beautiful charcuterie board, a fresh shrimp cocktail, premium sandwiches, and a selection of fine wines and spirits. It's all included. If you want something specific, their dedicated owner services team can arrange almost anything with 24 hours notice. Working with a network of trusted, high-end aviation caterers, they can get you stone crabs from Joe's in Miami or a specific vintage of Burgundy. The process is streamlined, professional, and reliable. You know the quality will be there. XO's approach to catering is a direct reflection of its model. The standard included catering can be more basic. On some shorter flights, it might be a simple basket of high-end snacks and a selection of drinks. It's good, but it might not feel as opulent as the standard NetJets offering. However, here's where the XO model can actually have an advantage. Because you're essentially chartering a specific plane from a specific operator, the potential for customization is immense. If you're willing to pay, the sky is the limit. You're not just ordering from a pre-approved list. You can have your favorite XO representative coordinate directly with the operator to, for example, pick up a full dinner for 4 from Spago in Beverly Hills before your flight from Van Nuys to Aspen. They can source a specific, hard-to-find tequila or have a birthday cake from your favorite local bakery waiting on board. With NetJets, special requests are fulfilled through a very structured system. With XO, it can feel more like having a personal concierge who is making calls on your behalf. It can be more bespoke, more personal. But the baseline, the included offering you get if you don't make a special request, is almost universally a step below NetJets' standard fare. It's the classic trade-off: guaranteed high quality versus the potential for personalized perfection. Now for the battleground that matters most to the modern business traveler: technology and connectivity. In 2024, a private jet without fast, reliable Wi-Fi is just a very expensive metal tube. This is where NetJets has invested a staggering amount of capital to create a decisive advantage. They made a commitment to install Gogo's high-speed 4G, and now increasingly 5G, Wi-Fi systems across their entire US fleet. When you fly NetJets, the Wi-Fi works. It's fast enough to hold a multi-person video conference, stream a high-definition movie, or send massive files. It is a core feature of their product, as essential as the engines. You board, you connect, and you work. The system is standardized and its performance is a known quantity. For a CEO who needs to be in constant contact with their team on the ground, this reliability is priceless. It transforms the cabin into a true extension of their office. Flying XO, you're once again playing Wi-Fi roulette. Almost every jet in their network will be advertised as having Wi-Fi. But the quality of that connection can vary wildly. An older aircraft might have a first-generation system that's barely fast enough to load emails, let alone support a Zoom call. A newer jet might have the latest and greatest tech. The problem is, you often don't know for sure what you're getting. You might see Wi-Fi included on the booking, but that doesn't tell you the speed, the data caps, or the reliability. Imagine you're 2 hours into a cross-country flight, about to present to your board of directors via video call, and you're met with the spinning wheel of death. That's a catastrophic failure for a business traveler. While XO's tech platform for booking is slick and modern, the actual in-flight tech is dependent on the hundreds of different operators in their network. They don't have operational control to mandate a fleet-wide upgrade. So while you can certainly get lucky and end up on a plane with blazing fast internet, you can't count on it the way you can with NetJets. So, when it comes to the pure in-flight experience, the crew, the cabin, the food, the tech, NetJets clearly wins the war on consistency. It's a known premium product delivered the same way, every single time. XO, on the other hand, offers a world of possibilities. You might get an experience that is every bit as good, or even more personalized than NetJets, but you simply can't be certain. It's a choice between a 5-star hotel chain where you know every room will be perfect, and a boutique hotel that might be the best place you've ever stayed. Or it might be a little disappointing. But all of this assumes a perfect, sunny day. It assumes the flight goes exactly as planned. What happens when it doesn't? What happens when a bird strikes an engine on takeoff? Or a sudden blizzard closes your destination airport? What happens when the world throws chaos at your travel plans? The comfort of the cabin and the quality of the champagne become utterly irrelevant in a crisis. The true test of a private aviation service isn't how it performs on a good day, but how it recovers on a bad one. And in that arena, the difference between these two companies isn't just a gap, it's a chasm. One of them has a secret weapon that the other simply cannot match. That secret weapon is ownership. More specifically, it's the power, the flexibility, and the absolute ironclad control that comes from owning the largest private jet fleet on the planet. NetJets isn't a broker. It isn't a marketplace. It is a full-fledged airline, operating under its own Part 135 certificate, with its own pilots, its own maintenance facilities, and most importantly, its own airplanes. Hundreds and hundreds of them. XO, on the other hand, is built on a fundamentally different philosophy. It's an asset-light technology company, a brilliant, sophisticated, and incredibly efficient broker. They connect clients to a vast network of over 2,000 aircraft owned and operated by other companies. They are the ultimate matchmaker. And on a perfect sunny day when everything goes according to plan, that model is incredibly powerful. But private aviation is a world of immense complexity. It's a delicate dance of weather, air traffic control, crew duty times, and fantastically complicated machinery. Things go wrong. Not often, but they do. A bird strike during takeoff. A sensor that suddenly flags an error. A tire that needs replacing in an airport with no available mechanics. This is where the two models diverge and the chasm appears. Let's call this the recovery. When a flight can't go as planned, what happens next? For NetJets, the recovery process is an internal military-grade logistical operation. Imagine you're scheduled to fly out of Teterboro on a NetJets Challenger 350, and during the pre-flight check, the pilot discovers a minor but non-negotiable hydraulic issue. The plane is grounded. For most charter services, this is a crisis. For NetJets, it's a Tuesday. Their operational command center in Columbus, Ohio, a facility that looks like something out of NASA's mission control, is immediately alerted. Their proprietary software, which tracks every single one of their 800-plus aircraft in real time, instantly identifies the next closest available Challenger 350. Maybe there's one that just dropped off a passenger in White Plains 20 miles away. Maybe there's one being repositioned empty from Philadelphia. Within minutes, that replacement aircraft is retasked. A new flight plan is filed. The jet is on its way to you. Because they own a massive standardized fleet, they can often provide you with the exact same type of aircraft you booked. The new pilots are already type-rated. The cabin is configured identically. Your catering is seamlessly transferred. You might experience a delay of an hour, maybe two. But you are getting on a NetJets plane with a NetJets crew upheld by the NetJets standard. They are solving their own problem with their own assets. They control every single variable. Now let's run the same scenario with XO. You're at Teterboro, booked on a Challenger 300 source through XO's network. The third-party operator who owns that plane discovers the same hydraulic issue. The plane is grounded. Now XO's team, who are excellent professionals, spring into action. But they don't have a hangar full of their own jets to call upon. They must get on the phone and on their computers and find you a replacement aircraft on the open charter market. They are now at the mercy of supply and demand. Is it a peak travel day like the Sunday after Thanksgiving? If so, the available inventory of jets in the New York area might be close to zero. Every plane is already booked. The few that are available might have their prices jacked up to astronomical levels due to the surge in demand. XO now has to find an operator willing to release a plane, negotiate a price, and get it to you. They might find a jet, but it could be a completely different type. Maybe they can only find a smaller Hawker 800, which doesn't have the same range or luggage capacity. Or maybe they find a larger Gulfstream, but the operator wants a 50% premium that XO has to decide whether to absorb. Maybe the closest available jet is in Boston, meaning you're now facing a multi-hour delay. XO is exceptionally good at navigating this chaos, but it is chaos. They are solving someone else's problem with someone else's assets. They are a broker in a tough spot, doing their best to manage a situation where they have very little direct control. This isn't just a theoretical difference. It's the core of the value proposition. NetJets has built a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure of redundancy. They have their own dedicated maintenance, repair, and overhaul facilities. When their jet has a problem, it doesn't wait in line behind 10 other planes at a third-party repair shop. It goes to the front of their own line, where their own technicians, using their own pre-stocked parts, fix the issue. This system is designed to minimize downtime and maximize availability. It's an incredibly expensive way to run a business, and those costs are reflected in their pricing. But the result is an unparalleled level of dispatch reliability. They have created a closed-loop system. Think of it this way: NetJets is like the Apple ecosystem. They design the service, they own the hardware, they employ the staff. It's a seamless, vertically integrated experience. When your iPhone breaks, you go to the Apple Store, and they have a system designed to get you a working phone as quickly as possible. XO is more like the Android ecosystem. It's more open, more diverse, and offers incredible choice by aggregating countless different hardware makers and operators. But when your third-party Android phone breaks, the recovery process involves navigating different manufacturers, carriers, and repair shops. Can be more complicated. Both systems can get you a fantastic result, but the integrated model has a clear advantage when things go wrong. This operational superiority extends to the human element as well. NetJets employs over 3,000 pilots. They are all NetJets employees, trained to a single rigorous standard. They have deep familiarity with their specific aircraft type and the company's procedures. When a recovery happens and a new crew takes over, the service standard is identical. The handoff is seamless. With the brokerage model, the pilots work for the hundreds of different operators in the network. While all are certified and highly professional, there isn't one single unified standard of service. The crew on your recovery jet might be fantastic, but they work for a different company with a different culture than the crew on your original flight. It introduces a variable. Ultimately, what NetJet sells is not just flights, it sells certainty, sells a promise. The promise that when you need to be in Omaha for a board meeting at 9 a.m., you will be there. That promise is backed by an armada of aircraft and a logistics network that rivals a major airlines. XO sells access and value. It provides an incredible gateway to the world of private aviation, often at a more accessible price point, by leveraging the efficiency of the open market. But that reliance on the open market is its Achilles heel during disruptions. On a blue sky day, the passenger experience might be indistinguishable. You get a beautiful jet, a great crew, and a smooth flight. But the true test, the moment you realize what you've truly paid for, is when the sky turns gray. It's in that moment of disruption that NetJet's ownership model transforms from a background feature into the single most important asset in your travel itinerary. One company has built a fortress of reliability, the other has built a brilliant marketplace. And while both can get you where you need to go, only one of them controls the entire journey, from the hangar floor to the final landing. Now, we've established the bedrock of operational philosophy that separates these two giants. But what about the part you actually experience? The feel of the leather, the quality of the champagne, the attentiveness of the crew, the speed of the Wi-Fi. What is it actually like to be a passenger with NetJets versus XO? Because once the engines start, the operational model fades into the background, and the cabin experience takes center stage. And in that intimate environment, the differences are just as fascinating and just as crucial. Let's start on the tarmac. When you walk towards your NetJets aircraft, you know exactly what you're going to see. The clean, conservative livery, the iconic stripe, the tail number. Feels familiar because it's designed to be. Stepping inside is like returning to a familiar, impeccably maintained second home. The scent of the leather, the specific shade of the wood veneer, the placement of the glassware. It's all part of the NetJet standard. It is a meticulously crafted, endlessly replicated environment of quiet luxury. It's the four seasons of the sky. You know the bed will be perfect, the service will be flawless, and the room will look the same in Maui as it does in Manhattan. This isn't a criticism. It's their core value proposition. They have surgically removed the variable of surprise. For the NetJets owner, this consistency is paramount. They're not just buying flights, they're buying a predictable, controlled environment. The cabin crew, when present on larger jets like the Global Surpretors, are NetJets employees. They've gone through extensive NetJets training, not just in safety, but in a specific, understated style of service. They know the fleet, they know the standards, and often after a few flights they get to know you. They remember you prefer still water over sparkling, that you take your coffee with a single raw sugar, that your kids love a specific brand of organic apple juice. This isn't a lucky coincidence. It's a system. Your preferences are logged in your profile, ensuring that no matter which NetJets aircraft you step onto, in any city it feels like your aircraft. Catering is a perfect example of this philosophy in action. With NetJets, ordering is a seamless part of the pre-flight process, handled by your dedicated service team. They have standing relationships with the absolute best aviation caterers in every major city. You want stone crabs from Joe's in Miami for a flight leaving from Teterboro? They'll make it happen. You need a specific vintage of Dom Perignon chilled to a precise temperature? Consider it done. The aircraft is also pre-stocked with the standard selection of high-end snacks, spirits, and wines, all chosen to meet the NetJet standard. It's an ecosystem built on the promise that your request will be fulfilled to the highest possible standard every single time. It's less about ordering food and more about curating an experience. Now let's walk across that same tarmac to your XO jet. The first difference? You might not know exactly what the plane will look like until you see it. It could be a sleek, brand new Challenger 350 with a custom interior that looks like it belongs in a design magazine. Or it could be a 10-year-old Hawker 800 XP that is perfectly safe and well-maintained, but its interior reflects the tastes of a different era. This is the fundamental nature of a brokered charter model. XO is granting you access to a vast, floating fleet owned and operated by hundreds of different companies. They have safety standards, of course. Every operator is Argus or Wyvern rated, but they don't control the interior design. Stepping inside an XO source jet is an experience of variability. One flight might have stunning dark wood and cream leather seats. The next might have light maple and blue fabrics. For some, this is exciting. It's a new experience every time. For others who crave predictability, it can be a source of low-grade anxiety. You don't always know what you're going to get. The biggest variable, and perhaps the most critical for business travelers, is Wi-Fi. On a NetJets flight, high-speed streaming Wi-Fi is largely standard and expected. On the charter market that XO accesses, it's a roll of the dice. Many aircraft have it, but some don't. Some have slower, older systems. Some operators charge extra for it. If your entire reason for flying private is to turn the cabin into a mobile boardroom for 3 hours, this single variable can be a deal-breaker. With XO, you have to be diligent and specifically request an aircraft with Wi-Fi that meets your needs, and even then, its performance isn't guaranteed to a single fleet-wide standard. The crew experience is also different. The pilots are always going to be exceptional, two-pilot crews who meet rigorous safety standards. But they work for the third-party operator, not for XO. They are consummate professionals, but they are not steeped in a single unified service culture. They are executing the charter for the day. That personal recognition, the feeling of being welcomed back by a familiar crew who knows your quirks, is far less likely. Flight attendants are also less common, typically reserved for super mid-sized jets and larger, and their presence depends entirely on the operator's standard for that specific aircraft. Catering through XO is also a different process. XO facilitates it, but the execution is often handled by the operator. While you can certainly request high-end catering, the process can feel more transactional and less integrated. The quality is dependent on the operator's preferred vendor. Will you get what you asked for? Yes, almost certainly. Will it have that extra layer of seamless, intuitive polish that comes from an in-house dedicated service team that knows your history? Perhaps not. The plane will have basic snacks and drinks, but the selection is up to the operator, and it can range from a standard basket of chips and granola bars to a more curated selection. However, it's crucial to add a massive asterisk here. XO is part of Vista Global, which also owns VistaJet. VistaJet operates its own fleet of very distinctive, very consistent silver and red Bombardier jets. When you book a flight through the XO app, you might be booking a third-party charter, or you might be booking a flight on a VistaJet aircraft. If you're on a VistaJet plane, the in-cabin experience is much closer to the NetJets model. The interiors are standardized and stunning. The service from the VistaJet cabin hosts is world-class and famously detailed. They offer specific programs for children, pets, and even fine dining. So, the XO cabin experience exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have the pure charter market, vast choice but high variability. On the other end, if you're on their parent company's metal, you have an experience of extreme, branded luxury that absolutely rivals NetJets. So let's crystallize this. The NetJets cabin is an extension of the owner's life. It's a product. It's about control, consistency, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing every single detail has been pre-vetted to an obsessive standard. You are paying a premium to eliminate surprises. The XO cabin is an access point to a marketplace. It's about flexibility, variety, and getting great value on a specific mission. It can be absolutely spectacular, sometimes even more opulent than a standard NetJets interior if you charter the right billionaire's personal jet. But it can also be more basic. You are trading some measure of predictability for a wider range of options and price points. Think of it like this. If you need to host the most important business meeting of your life in the air, you might choose NetJets. You know the Wi-Fi will be rock solid, the cabin will be a perfect, quiet office, and there will be zero distractions. If you're taking your family on a spontaneous ski trip and found a great empty leg deal, XO is an incredible option. The kids won't care if the wood veneer is a slightly different shade than the last plane. They'll just be thrilled to be on a private jet. Neither approach is inherently superior. They are simply different philosophies catering to different priorities. One is a promise of sameness. The other is a portal to variety. One is a members club. The other is the world's most exclusive booking engine. Understanding which of those philosophies best aligns with your needs is the key to choosing. But the cabin is only half the story. What happens when things go wrong? When a snowstorm cancels 1,000 flights, or a mechanical issue grounds your plane? That's when the operational backbone of these two giants is truly tested. And their responses in a crisis couldn't be more different. Imagine a blizzard roaring into Aspen. A thick white curtain drops over the mountains, shutting down the airport. Hundreds of private jets are stuck. On the ground is a NetJets owner, scheduled to fly to New York for a critical board meeting the next morning. And right next to them in the FBO is an XO member, with an equally important trip planned to the same city. This is the ultimate stress test. For the NetJets owner, a call comes in. It's not a cancellation notice, it's a solution. Their dedicated service team, operating from a command center that looks like something out of a spy movie, has been tracking the storm for days. Their original aircraft is snowed in, yes, but they've already diverted a different jet, a Citation Latitude that was finishing a trip in Denver, to a smaller, less congested airport an hour's drive away that's still open. A black car is already on its way to the FBO to take them there. The flight will be a little later, the drive is an inconvenience, but the trip is happening. The board meeting is safe. This is the power of the NetJets fortress. With over 900 aircraft, they have the largest private fleet on the planet. When a disruption hits, they aren't just reacting. They're playing a continent-wide game of chess. They can move planes, reroute crews, and leverage a level of redundancy that is simply impossible for anyone else to replicate. Their model is built on a single monolithic principle: control. They own the planes. They employ the pilots. They run the maintenance facilities. The entire logistics chain, from the pilot schedule to the spare parts for the landing gear, is under one roof. So when chaos strikes, they can orchestrate a recovery with military precision. They are not asking other companies for help. They are deploying their own assets. This is what the premium price tag buys: a logistical shock absorber. It's an insurance policy against uncertainty, written in jet fuel and steel. Now let's look at the XO member. Their experience is different. They get an alert on their app: flight canceled due to weather. The hunt for a replacement begins. But XO doesn't own the plane. They are a broker, a brilliant one, but a broker nonetheless. They are now desperately working the phones and their digital marketplace, trying to find another available aircraft from their network of over 2,000 approved operators. The problem is, every other charter company and every other stranded passenger in the region is doing the exact same thing. The available supply of aircraft has just plummeted, while demand has skyrocketed. It's a perfect storm of scarcity. An operator with a plane in a nearby, open airport might be willing to take the flight, but the price will be subject to dynamic surge pricing. The cost could be double or even triple the original quote. Or worse, there might be no available aircraft at all until the storm passes, which could be the next day. The XO member is left in limbo, refreshing their app, waiting for a solution that is entirely dependent on the whims of a fragmented, third-party market. This isn't a failure of XO's model. It's a feature of it. Their asset-light approach provides incredible flexibility and competitive pricing on a clear day. They give you access to a vast, diverse marketplace. But during a widespread operational breakdown, a hurricane, an air traffic control system failure, a major snowstorm, that marketplace can seize up. XO's control is limited to its power of persuasion and the relationships it has with its partners. They are at the mercy of hundreds of independent operators, each with their own priorities and constraints. This core difference extends to the people flying the planes. NetJets pilots are NetJets employees. They are a salaried, unified workforce trained to a single exacting standard. They fly the same family of aircraft, follow the same procedures, and are all part of one massive internal scheduling system. If a pilot calls in sick in Teterboro, the system can immediately identify a rested, certified, and available NetJets pilot nearby to take their place. Crew legality, duty times, and rest periods are all managed within this closed ecosystem. It's a deep bench of talent that can be substituted seamlessly. XO, on the other hand, relies on the crews of its third-party operators. These pilots are all highly qualified, meeting stringent Argus or Wyvern safety ratings. but they work for hundreds of different companies. Each company has its own scheduling, its own union rules, and its own operational priorities. If an XO booked flight is delayed and the crew times out, meaning they've hit their legal flight hour limit for the day, XO can't just swap in another pilot. They have to wait for the original operator to find a replacement crew, or they have to start the entire booking process from scratch, searching for a new plane with a new legal crew. The potential for cascading delays is significantly higher because the system is decentralized. And then there's maintenance, the dreaded AOG, aircraft on ground. When a NetJets plane has a mechanical issue, a massive internal support structure clicks into gear. They can fly their own technicians and parts to the aircraft on another jet if needed. They have their own dedicated maintenance bases. Their goal is to get their asset, their plane, back in the air as quickly as humanly possible. And if it can't be fixed quickly, they simply roll another identical jet from their fleet into its place and deal with the maintenance issue offline, while the owner is already on their way. When a third-party charter plane booked through XO has a mechanical issue, the situation is more complex. XO's team is excellent at recovery, but they are dependent on the operator of that specific aircraft to fix the problem. They have no direct control over the maintenance process. Their primary tool is to try and find a replacement aircraft on the charter market, which, depending on the time and location, can be quick and easy or slow and expensive. The client's journey is tethered to the operational capability of a separate, independent company. So, when things go wrong, the two companies reveal their true nature. NetJets is an airline, a private, luxurious, on-demand airline, but an airline nonetheless. They operate with the brute force reliability that comes from massive centralized ownership. They sell certainty. XO is a technology-powered marketplace, a sophisticated, efficient, and powerful platform that connects buyers and sellers of private aviation. They sell access and value. In a crisis, the airline's priority is to complete the mission using its own resources. The marketplace's priority is to find a new seller to complete the transaction. One is a promise of execution, the other is a promise of access. This fundamental difference in handling chaos leads us directly to the ultimate question of value. It's not just about the cost of an hour in the air, it's about the cost of failure. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most important piece of the puzzle, the price. So let's break down the dollars and cents, because this is where the two philosophies of private aviation truly collide. It's a clash between the fortress and the open market. NetJets operates on a model of ownership and long-term commitment. Think of it like buying a high-end vacation home in a members-only resort. Their primary offerings are fractional ownership, leasing, and the marquee jet card. Fractional ownership is the cornerstone. You're not just chartering a plane. You are buying a deeded share of a specific aircraft. A 1/16 share, for example, entitles you to 50 hours of flight time per year. This is a staggering capital investment. For a popular light jet like the Phenom 300, you might be looking at an initial acquisition cost of over $500,000. But it doesn't stop there. You then pay a monthly management fee, covering everything from pilot salaries to hangar space and insurance, which can be well over $10,000 a month. And on top of that, you pay an occupied hourly fee for every hour you're actually in the air, which covers fuel and maintenance. It's a monumental financial commitment, but what you buy is certainty. You own an asset, and you have a guaranteed jet with as little as 4 hours notice. Their lease program is similar, but without the massive upfront acquisition cost. You get the same access and guaranteed availability for a multi-year term, with monthly lease payments and the same hourly fees. It's less capital intensive, but still a significant long-term financial handcuff. Finally, there's the Marquee Jet Card. This is their entry-level product, where you pre-purchase 25 or 50 hours of flight time. A 25-hour card on that same Phenom 300 could set you back $250,000 or more. It's the simplest way in, but it's also the most expensive on a pure per-hour basis. The NetJets model is built on one word: predictability. Predictable costs, predictable service, predictable aircraft. XO, on the other hand, is the embodiment of the digital on-demand economy. It's the Uber Black or the Airbnb Luxe of the skies. Their model is built on access, not ownership. Their core offering is on-demand charter. You open the app, you enter your itinerary, and you get a real-time price for a jet from their dedicated fleet or from their vast network of third-party operators. You can book a flight for next week or in some cases for later today. You pay for what you use when you use it. There are no acquisition costs, no monthly management fees, no long-term commitments. This is the ultimate in flexibility. To enhance this, XO offers several membership tiers. Their most popular, XO Reserve, requires a significant deposit, around $100,000, which you then fly against. Becoming a reserve member unlocks lower, fixed hourly rates on the dedicated fleet and eliminates surcharges for peak travel days. It's a way to get some of the predictability of a jet card, but with more flexibility and a much lower barrier to entry than NetJets. They also offer a signature access membership for a simple annual fee, giving you preferential pricing and access to booking individual seats on shared flights, something NetJets simply doesn't do. So let's put them head to head. Imagine you plan to fly 50 hours this year. With NetJets, you'd buy a 1/16 share. You'd pay, let's say, $600,000 upfront. Then you'd pay roughly $150,000 in management fees for the year. And finally, you'd pay an occupied hourly rate of around $4,000 per hour, totaling $200,000 for your flight time. Your all-in cost for the first year is nearly $1 million. But here's the key. At the end of your contract, NetJets guarantees to buy back your share at fair market value. You get a significant portion of that initial capital back. Now let's look at XO for those same 50 hours. If you're a reserve member, you put down your $100,000 deposit. Your fixed hourly rate on a similar jet might be around $8,000 per hour. So, 50 hours would cost you $400,000, drawn from your deposit and then billed as you go. There are no management fees. Your total cash outlay for the year is dramatically lower. There's no asset to sell back, but there was also no multi-$100,000 asset to buy in the first place. On paper, XO seems like the clear financial winner. But this is where value transcends price. The NetJets premium buys you something intangible, but incredibly valuable: the elimination of variables. The $1 million year isn't just for 50 hours of flight, it's for the guarantee that a NetJets pilot in a NetJets maintained plane from a standardized NetJets fleet will be there for you, period. It's an investment in operational perfection. The cost of a last-minute mechanical issue forcing a cancellation could be a multi-million-dollar deal lost. For the NetJets client, that risk is unacceptable, and they are willing to pay a massive premium to mitigate it. The XO client has a different risk tolerance and a different definition of value. They value efficiency and agility. Why tie up $1 million in a single type of aircraft when you can access a global marketplace of thousands of jets with zero long-term commitment? They accept a small degree of variability in exchange for unparalleled flexibility and financial freedom. They can choose a light jet for a quick business trip and a heavy jet for a family vacation to Europe, all from the same app, paying market rates. So which one is better? The answer lies not in the companies but in you. The choice between NetJets and XO is a reflection of your needs, your business, and your philosophy on how to leverage time and capital. NetJets is for the user who requires absolute, unwavering consistency. You are likely flying 50, 100 or more hours per year. Your schedule is demanding and often decided for you. You view your private jet not as a luxury, but as an indispensable business tool, an airborne office that must function with the same reliability as your headquarters. You prefer the pride and security of ownership, and you have the capital to invest in it. You are the Fortune 500 CEO, the established industrialist, the individual for whom the cost of failure is infinitely higher than the premium for guaranteed success. XO is for the dynamic modern user. Your travel might be less frequent or more spontaneous, a mix of business and leisure. You are digitally native and comfortable with a marketplace model. You value flexibility above all else, the ability to choose the right jet for the right mission, without being locked into a single aircraft type or a multi-year contract. You see the wisdom in accessing a multi-billion-dollar network of aircraft without deploying your own capital to own one. You are the tech founder, the successful consultant, the family that wants the private jet experience for key trips without the overhead of ownership. In the end, it boils down to a single question: are you buying an asset, or are you buying access? NetJets sells you a piece of the world's most powerful aviation infrastructure. It's an asset. It's a guarantee. It is for some the only way to fly. XO sells you a key to a global fleet. It's access. It's freedom. It is for others the smartest way to fly. There is no single better service. There is only the service that is better for you. The established titan, offering stability and the certainty of ownership, or the disruptive challenger, offering flexibility and the power of an open network. The choice, as they say, is yours. So, which philosophy resonates more with you? The fortress-like security of NetJets or the agile open market of XO? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of ultimate luxury and high-stakes business. Thanks for watching.